Hello, good evening. I want to tell you a story. I am a police officer. This happened approximately 2 years ago, such strange events of that night, and I want to use this medium to narrate what I experienced. On this YouTube channel I consider it the best way to talk about it to avoid ridicule. It began when I saw a public transport line passenger bus on the road. At around 11 at night when I saw it stopped at the shoulder, I thought it was going up or down the passage. Then I noticed that the operator was under his bus in front of his unit. I could notice an uncontrollable desperation in him, because he was holding his head, walking fast from one place to another, looking at the floor and to the sides in an inexplicable way. When I saw his behavior I thought that he had had an accident and perhaps he had fled. My father and my brothers are bus operators, and according to what they say, this is what a driver does after an accident to avoid going to prison. I stopped a few meters ahead, get off my patrol car to try to help this man. The truth was that he seemed very desperate. I went up to the driver and shook his hand to greet him. I realized that he was absolutely cold, as if he were ice. He squeezed me so hard that, honestly, it left me even more worried. I supposed that something bad was happening to him. I asked him what was wrong, but I could not give coherence to what he wanted to tell me. He was trembling with fear. Something very unfortunate was notorious that was happening to him, and it took about 7 minutes, and I told him that I was here to serve him, and to calm down so that I could help him. When he could finally contain himself, he began to tell me what had just happened to him. Going through the previous towns, a very pretty girl who made the stop. He stopped to get her on the bus and paid off his ticket. And he went and sat in the back seats. Everything was completely normal until there was a problem with the bus. I observed and illuminated the outside of the bus while the driver talked to me. When normality seemed to be noticeable, nothing around the unit, the bus operator comments that the engine, the lights, the weather and the radio stopped working. He was going to wait for help from one of his colleagues or the mechanical service, then, unable to do anything. In view of the situation, he was forced to tell the girl, his only passenger, that the unit had broken down and that they would have to wait for another bus to take her. But when he tried to turn on the lights in the passenger cabin, these lights did work. The bus stopped at when the driver got up from his seat and realized that the girl was no longer there. He searched even under the seats. He searched everywhere, even in the luggage rack at the top, but she was not there. He told me that after the girl got on he had not made any stops. He did not get off the bus, and in a state of shock he tried to find an explanation. I offered him water, and I told him that perhaps the problem was the battery terminals, reconnect them so he could finish his trip to get to the terminal. But he told me that he did not want to drive. Moreover, he almost begged me to leave the place. "You told me in a desperate way, 'Let's go, officer, please let's go,'" he told me, almost to the point of crying with his completely broken voice. I listened to him and told him to get on the patrol car. I went to turn off the lights inside the bus and close the door. At the moment I boarded the unit I could feel the presence of someone in the cabin on the back of the bus. But I did not want to give it importance. I was able to activate the exterior lights and the emergency lights. I unconsciously looked up and I could clearly see a woman in the rearview mirror, with her face covered with her own hair, standing behind me. I felt the blood rush to my feet. I felt extreme cold. I totally had a sensation as if I had something very heavy on me. My frozen feet could not walk. That weight on my body prevented any movement. Gathering all my courage, I looked back. After a couple of seconds, and to my surprisingly, there was no woman, but I could catch a glimpse of a feminine perfume with a rich aroma, very penetrating, that was impregnated in my report. I closed the bus door and it was completely dark on the road, except for the emergency lights of the bus. I got into my patrol car. The driver was a little more relaxed because anyway I had already kept him company. In the middle of nowhere in the dark. Around midnight he turned on the patrol light to illuminate my cabin, and the driver asked me why it had taken so long in turning off the lights. I told him that I saw a woman in the aisle of the bus, a woman behind me, and that I froze because of fear. At that moment the driver began to cry and told me to leave, but almost in the tone of an order. He took him to the detachment and made him a coffee. He stayed there for only one night. And I returned to patrolling the road and was still quite restless, feeling afraid for what I had seen. When passing where the bus stopped, there was clearly a woman who opened the curtains and was watching me, with a fixed look towards me. I could see why I turned on all the patrol lights, and his face lit up, with the red lights and the attack lights of my patrol. Without thinking, I accelerated full of fear, and then I stayed near the cruise ship to calm down. Then I returned to the detachment and once again passed the location of the stopped bus. Again I could clearly see that the curtains were opened and a horrendous woman was leaning out of the last window. Once again I accelerated, but this time the patrol did not respond. It neutralized itself. I felt a horrible despair. And it does not let. I had to look in my rearview mirror to see if that woman didn't get off the bus and follow me. Again my patrol began to slow down, and as soon as it responded I accelerated to reach my base immediately. There the first thing I did was send a tow truck to take the bus from the place. What had disconcerted me, currently when I am in this type of situation, without hesitation I send a tow truck to remove the vehicles from the roads. But now I'm left with that curse, because every time I pass by with my patrol on that road, that feminine perfume appears and my patrol begins to fail. This is already affecting me too much. I am considering requesting my zone change. If a feminine perfume comes to you out of nowhere, better run away. Don't look back, just run away.